Hey, welcome to my channel. You'll notice that I'm not doing any shuffling today, so this is going to be a little bit of a different reading or channeling. They've asked me to look into, well, not look into, that sounds very investigative. They asked me to talk about the energy of Scorpio, especially during the Scorpio season. It is quite an intense Scorpio season, especially being a 9 year. 2025 is a 9 year. And at the beginning of the year, could already feel the energy shifting, that this was going to be a year of major transformation, major changes, major life changes, major life lessons. Because in numerology, the energy of 9 is the completion of cycles. So very strongly, I felt that karmic cycles were definitely going to come to a close in this year. And any of us that have been in a karmic cycle partnership, I mean, we all have, it is very intense and it can be very codependent. And there's relationship dynamics like trauma bonding and all those lovely things, attachment avoidant. And so it's difficult to get out of that kind of a cycle. And it doesn't have to be romantic, it can also be related to work, to career. So, Scorpio season this year is particularly transformative. It feels like Scorpio is literally alchemizing the entire zodiac. And in a lot of the readings that I've been doing for all the zodiac signs, the biggest themes that have been coming out are transformation, life changes, stepping into your power, stepping into your worth, choosing yourself, choosing alignment, finding out what your alignment actually is. Because some of us, are still on that path of discovery and walking away from situations that don't fulfill you emotionally, spiritually, mentally, energetically, and that are not reciprocal. So that has been the theme of what's been coming up in a lot of the zodiac readings. And a lot of this has to do with transformation, death, rebirth. Judgment is life lessons and big moments coming in that require us to make different choices. Someone said to me, and I can't remember exactly who it is, but that this year was going to be a year that would bring us to our knees if we didn't make certain life changes. And that is the Scorpio energy. So I wanted to go through today what this actually means in Scorpio season briefly. Well, as brief as I can be, because I love talking. This is a passion of mine. But I've also done the 3-part series with all the signs, looking at the impact of Scorpio energy for every single zodiac sign. So I will be publishing that after this intro as well. But I realized when I did the first reading yesterday that I couldn't do all the zodiac signs at once. There were a few things that were going on energetically in my space, and I had to do it in 3 parts. And so the introduction bit, I didn't do a full introduction, but I did a small introduction at the beginning of the Aries reading. So not every one of you are going to see that. And so they asked me to do a separate intro video for Scorpio. So Scorpio is a fixed energy. It's a fixed sign. In the zodiac wheel, there are fixed signs, cardinal signs, and mutable signs. The fixed signs are Leo, Aquarius, Scorpio, and Taurus. And they are the signs that actually hold the zodiac grid stable, if I can call it that. They bring stability to the grid of the zodiac so that the mutable signs and the cardinal signs are able to shift and flow. If you think of the energy of Sagittarius as an example, it's a very explorative energy. It's a very, impulsive energy, it's fire energy, it cannot be contained. So that energy is mutable, it needs to be able to move. And so we all can't be moving at the same time, because that's going to create chaos in, the energy in the cosmos. So the fixed signs, the purpose of the fixed signs are to hold the grid. And Leo, Aquarius, Taurus, Scorpio, you will notice that these signs are more resistant to change than the other signs. It's because we want, and I say we because I'm a Taurus sun, but we want to stay stable and hold the grid stable. Now, interestingly, what they showed me, and they showed me this analogy, and I'd never thought of this before. One of my swivel chairs in the space, one of the bolts fell out of it the other day. And how the swivel chair is put together, there's like a square metal plate with 4 bolts, kind of fixing the chair in place and holding it stable. And then there's a circular metal plate that allows it to swivel, but the square plate kind of keeps the chair stable so that, you don't fall flat on your ass. So what happened the other day, and excuse my French, this bolt fell out of the chair. And as I was, as we entered Scorpio season, I felt the shift immediately. And then they reminded me, it was actually when I was in the shower, that they showed me this bolt. And they said why, or they explained, why. And I see it almost like a reel, like a movie in my mind. Why Scorpio energy is particularly intense. So if you think of the 4 bolts holding the chair, and the circular is, the energy that moves, the zodiacs that are mutable and cardinal, but the 4 bolts that are holding the chair stable. And if you think of that as, the fixed signs in the zodiac, when we are in a fixed sign season, and especially Scorpio, because Scorpio is a water sign, the water sign or the Scorpio energy then needs to move out of fixed energy in order to alchemize the entire zodiac. And this word keeps coming to me, alchemize, because I feel like what Scorpio energy is doing for us this year is really alchemizing shift and change. It's almost a physical, chemical reaction. In fact, a lot of us are feeling the physical changes in our bodies as well. Literally rewiring of the nervous system, shifting and changing of, our DNA, our makeup. And this is the energy of what Scorpio is bringing in, the alchemization. So in order for Scorpio to do this, it can't stay in fixed energy, because then it's not going to be pervasive through the entire zodiac. What Scorpio needs to do in Scorpio season is flow, like divine feminine energy needs to flow. The rest of the fixed signs then have to hold that energy stable so that Scorpio is able to flow. So Taurus, Leo, and Aquarius, if you've ever heard or read that Scorpio season or Scorpio full moon would be most felt by the fixed signs, that's what this means, is that when Scorpio sets loose, Taurus, Leo, and Aquarius have to then hold the space for Scorpio energy. So you can think about this bolt being Scorpio coming out of the chair, and the other 3 bolts needing to keep the chair stable. So there's an extra tension with the other 3 bolts in the chair as it is in the grid. There's an extra tension with Leo, Aquarius, and Taurus. And particularly Taurus, because Taurus is the opposite sign to Scorpio. So if you think, you can imagine the opposite bolt to this one would be experiencing a lot more of the tension. A little bit of my science and engineering coming in here to explain this, or my logical mind coming in to explain this. And I think that's why they show this to me, is because with my background, I usually think about things logically, and in this kind of work, is not very logical. In fact, when I am reading, I shift from 3D energy to 5D energy. And 5D energy is simply that the realm where you exist, where it is just reading energy. It's reading energy. You're no longer grounded in the material sense. The 3D world is, everything we can touch, feel, see, everything that's physical in front of us. But even that, we can get into that another day. Quantum physics, nothing is actually solid. But anyway, that's a story for another day. So what Scorpio does is it moves into 5D energy. And this is what the divine feminine, when the divine feminine ascends and creates and receives, the divine feminine moves into 5D energy to spiritually create, to manifest, to grow. And that is why a divine feminine needs masculine energy, because what masculine energy does is provides the 3D grounding to allow the feminine to be in 5D without leaving her body, if that makes any sense. It's like water energy. Water can flow wherever it wants to flow. It cuts through all obstacles. It is uncontrollable. If you can think of tsunami energy, waterfall energy, if there was no container for that, it would be chaos, and you would feel very untethered and very ungrounded. And there are some days where I have to pause between readings to actually ground my energy, because it feels like I am literally in another realm. And if I don't ground my energy, I can drive around not even recognizing what a traffic light is. It's literally that intense. Or what timeline I'm in. So I have to ground my energy, and that's the purpose of masculine energy. So what the fixed signs do when Scorpio goes into 5D in Scorpio season, and Scorpio needs to be in 5D to energetically connect to everything in the zodiac, in the cosmos. The Scorpio energy then ascends like Scorpio energy does, because it is the scorpion to the eagle to the phoenix. The Scorpio energy then rises to alchemize the zodiac, and Taurus, Leo, Aquarius hold the energy like the masculine energy in 3D to allow Scorpio to be in 5D. I don't know if that made any sense, but that is what they asked me to share. And it makes sense why, as a Taurus, I'm feeling particularly ungrounded this season, is because I've been doing the readings as well. So I should actually, and now it's just coming to me now, is if you are Taurus, Leo, Aquarius, what we should actually be doing during Scorpio season is a lot of grounding energy. And grounding energy can be as simple as having a coffee with a friend, doing admin work. Yesterday, when I felt ungrounded, I went and did the dishes. I cooked a meal. I can't even remember what else I did. It was too hot to do any gardening, but I had planned to do some gardening. Go for coffee with a friend, and this applies to all the other signs as well. If you are feeling a little bit out of your body, and when I say out of your body, what it feels like is, it can be heart palpitations. It can feel like a sense of floating. You can feel dizzy. You feel the energy, particularly in the crown chakra area, because that is where we channel the 5D energy from, or that's where we are connecting. It's literally like Wi-Fi. Like, if you don't believe in this, then you shouldn't believe in Wi-Fi either, powering any of your devices. Like, how can this invisible wave power my laptop or connect me via my laptop and all my devices? It's exactly the same thing. So you could be feeling lightheaded. What else? Heart palpitations, I mentioned, dizzy, exhausted, and just anxious, because the grounding energy is the root chakra energy, which is at the base of the body. The color is red. And if it is imbalanced or if you are ungrounded, you can feel a lot of fear, you can feel anxiety, you can feel unsafe. And again, this is what 3D energy brings in when you are in 5D energy. Is 3D energy brings in a sense of feeling safe. It calms the anxiety, it calms the fear, so that, the divine feminine, in this case the Scorpio energy, is able to flow without restriction and flow with ease. Okay, Spirit, is that everything that I was meant to share? Okay, so important is grounding. You could also use a crystal like smoky quartz or black tourmaline. I have this next to me in my readings now so that I'm able to ground. You can use essential oils like cedar oil. Cedar is very good for grounding. Cinnamon, clove as well. Gardening is amazing. Putting your feet on the earth, it's really simple. I did that when I picked the kids up from school yesterday. There's a guy that walked past me like, okay, what is this lady doing? Hugging a tree. All of those things can really bring you back to earth. And there are scientific reasons behind that as well. Literally bring you back to earth. There are ions in earth that can energetically balance your energy and ground it. Okay, and then again, worldly things, 3D things, like getting your hair done, doing your nails, as I said, going for a coffee, admin work. Usually admin work really helps, like, catching up with your email or clearing out your laptop cache, any of those types of things, housework. So that's what you can do to ground. So the energies for Scorpio, and I've pulled out the Scorpio card specifically to just give you an indication of what's been going on or what is coming in, what has been going on in Scorpio season. And I'll start with the major arcana. I'm not going to go through all the minor arcana because it literally is the entire cups suite. But I'll go through the ones that have been showing up in the readings, because those are the energies that are kind of cycling through the zodiac right now, especially being the year that it is. So the first energy is the death energy, and I've chosen these two decks because I love the imagery. It is the Arcanum Tarot and the Light Seers Tarot. The Rider-Waite Scorpio cards are a little bit Halloween-y and freaky, so it does scare a lot of people, and I don't want to scare anyone. Halloween-y like my hair is today. So the first Scorpio card that has been coming up a lot is the Death card. In fact, I think it came out in almost every single zodiac reading that I did yesterday for Scorpio season. People look at this card and, they can be terrified, especially with, if the imagery is literally, what's his name? Death coming to fetch you with his scepter. Oh man, please help me in the comments. So now that's distracted me. This isn't physical death, okay? It doesn't represent physical death. It represents death of the ego. It can represent death of a situation, death of previous versions of yourself. That is the destroy and create energy that is so important to bring newness into our lives. It's the Shiv Shakti energy. It's the Kali Durga energy. There's always this balance with death and rebirth. In order for something to be reborn, something has to die. There is this energy exchange that's happening. It's card number 13. in the major arcana, in the journey of the Fool. And like the phoenix energy, so Scorpio energy is the phoenix energy. The ascended version of Scorpio is the phoenix. And for a phoenix to be reborn, it has to first burn to ashes. And it is quite an intense process. I've been going through many deaths this year, relationships, career, my own ego, my own, versions of myself that were keeping me stuck and keeping me blocked. And it's not an easy process. Let me not kid you. It's not an easy process. Transformation isn't easy. If you think of also the metamorphosis of a caterpillar to a butterfly, the caterpillar literally has to eat itself in order to turn into the butterfly. So you literally grieve or mourn a version of yourself that no longer can exist. And we do go back and forth with the energy. So I do find myself, stepping into a new version of myself, and then a previous version will come up again. So it doesn't happen overnight. It's not like we can go into a cocoon and then wake up and be transformed. Well, that would be nice, actually. That's the Four of Swords energy or the Hermit energy. That would actually be ideal, and that's why people hermit sometimes. It's literally, and that advice came out in the readings as well, so go check that out for your sign and strong placements. But hermiting in isolation is also very important for this process and for healing, so that you're not distracting, because it can be so intense that you want to anesthetize yourself. You want to anesthetize your mind, you want to anesthetize your body. And so we can turn to toxic or destructive habits in order to do that. And that's the devil energy. And that card has also been coming up a lot. And that's just, working through limiting beliefs, fear, anxiety, all those low level energies. When I say low level, I mean low frequency energies, because they have a heavy frequency. They make us feel physically heavy. Depression, anxiety, addiction to anything. It can be to watching TV, to scrolling through social media, to alcohol, weed, whatever it is, even readings. You can get addicted to watching readings or doing readings, so it just depends. But what it actually is, what addiction actually is a way of anesthetizing or escaping, the reality of the situation. And so that's why sometimes the devil energy does come up with when we are going through transformation. It's just going back to previous versions of yourself that want to hold on to that comfort. It's comfortable to stay in a certain energy because it is what we know, even if it is hurting us. It is the strangest, but it's the realest thing. Even if it is hurting us, that saying, the devil you know. It's like better to stay with the devil you know. Someone said that to me when I left my job earlier this year. It's like, well, I'm also not happy, but the devil you know. And I thought, I don't want to know any devil. But that is what comfort does. And there's a beautiful poem by Khalil Gibran. I'll post it in the description about comfort. And when it comes to the grave, that is what comfort moves in, like stealth, and it becomes a visitor, and then a guest, and then a permanent resident in your home, and it eats away at everything that you desire, that you wish for, that you can aim for your joy and for your happiness. That's what comfort can steal away from us. But rest is important because it can't happen all at once. and there is this back and forth energy. So that is the death energy. It is literally transforming every experience, every heartache, every difficult energy into something beautiful. And that's why I love the light seer's image of death, is because, within the death, there is that absolutely beautiful horizon with the cedar or pine trees and the sun shining through, because it is really about enlightenment. So thank you, Scorpio, for this energy. The other Scorpio card that has been coming up, or actually all of them have been coming up a lot, is Judgment. Judgment is a Pluto energy. Scorpio is ruled by Pluto and Mars. Judgment is a Pluto energy, and Pluto is the destructor. As tiny as Pluto is, if you know the story of Pluto, Pluto goes through the depths of hell to bring back medicine for the collective. And that is, what we are doing right now in order to find our medicine, in order to find, and that's also the death energy, in order to find what our alignment is, what our calling is, what our medicine is, we need to do the work and go through the depth and the pain of our own healing so that we know what our medicine is. I can't read tarot and give advice in the tarot that I'm not practicing myself. I can't be a coach, a life coach, career coach, and coach my clients to do certain things when I haven't experienced that myself. And energy doesn't lie. People can sense when you are faking it. You can't fake it to make it. Actually, you can't. It'll only get you to a certain point, and then your entire empire will collapse, which is the Tower energy. That's also Scorpio energy, which I'm getting to next. So we have to go through the depths of our own healing, and it is literally on Sunday. And it comes in waves. It's not always as intense. Sometimes it's little moments. Sometimes it's a whole day. But literally, like for the whole day on Sunday, I was frozen. I was sitting in so much pain. And, everything was coming up for me. Everything that I thought I had significantly dealt with came up again with a vengeance. And it felt like my heart was literally physically breaking in my chest. I felt restless. It's that kind of experience, and it doesn't have to be that intense, but we go through this and we go deeper into the abyss, and that's where Scorpio takes us, like to the bottom of the barrel, to face everything we need to face, because if it's not faced, it's just going to continue to unconsciously show up in our lives as the choices that we make, the relationships that we choose, the jobs that we choose. And then we wonder why we are so unhappy and why there's this sense of, discomfort, or there's no peace in our lives, and we can't put our finger on it. But we know that something is not right, that something is not aligned. So if we don't do the healing work, that's how we will continue to feel. And this is the bring you to your knees energy I was talking about in the beginning, is the universe literally this year, God, the universe was like, right, if you are not moving here, I'm going to bring in some very intense life lessons, some very intense, shattering, unexpected energy, so that you have to face it, because that's what the major arcana do. When we are not seeing things and making choices day to day in alignment with where we should be, because the purpose of the soul is evolution, it's growth, it's spiritual growth, and it's also pleasure. On earth we have to experience that as well. But we can't also experience pleasure externally if we are not satisfied or feeling that joy and pleasure from within. The inspiration that comes from inside of us, rather than motivation which is fleeting and comes from the outside and maybe inspires us for 2 seconds, and that, doesn't help us to move forward. It has to come from the inside. It's an inside job. And so joy, pleasure, all of those amazing things about the 3D world really can be experienced to such a full potential if we work through our stuff. And we are never really fully healed, but we come back to the same choices or patterns or points in the circle, and we have a different perspective on them. And then we can decide to choose differently because we have an awareness. And this is what's happening with the Judgment card, card of Pluto, the destruction energy, Archangel Gabriel. It's really about listening to the higher self, surrendering to your higher self, to your soul. It's a wake-up call energy as well, like blowing this horn, and all of these souls kind of surrendering to the life lesson in order to ascend, in order to move forward. And you see in the Light Seers Tarot deck, I love this deck so much, is her ascension, her freedom from feeling trapped. That was the other energy that was coming out significantly yesterday, was this feeling of being trapped. But it's a self-entrapment. It's an entrapment that is inflicted by the mind. And you can actually free yourself from that. And it feels literally like a burden has lifted. And that is Judgment energy. It's surrendering to that. It's surrendering to your higher self, to your soul, aligning with what is important for you. It is a 2 energy. So it's this relationship between your 3D self, your earth embodiment, and your higher self. Archangel Gabriel is also very healing, and his color is yellow. Actually, she. Archangel Gabriel is a she. I found that out a little bit later, and it doesn't matter. We are both masculine and feminine. But Gabriel's energy is yellow, and yellow is everything about the solar plexus. The solar plexus is about self-worth, self-confidence, about showing up in the world in our full potential, in our full selves. And that's what Judgment brings in. These are the karmic lessons I was talking about. And we may experience this again, through romantic relationships, through friendships, through family relationships, through career. We can experience a karmic lesson through anyone that we are interacting with, literally. But what karmic cycles and lessons are here to bring for us is to inject and to trigger and to ignite wounds within us, to show us where we still need healing. Sometimes in a karmic cycle, this is where we get stuck because we then trauma bond to each other, or we become codependent, or there's some kind of dynamic in the relationship that keeps you feeling like you can't leave. And this, particularly with family, it's not so easy to walk away from family, to say no to family. But you start recognizing the toxic cycles, I don't even like that word toxic anymore. It's so overused. But it's the lower energy cycles, or the lower vibrational cycles, the lower vibrational energy. You start to notice it more when you start choosing yourself. This is also about boundaries. And that's been coming up big time for all the signs, is personal energetic boundaries, spiritual hygiene, who you allow into your space and who you don't allow into your space. And in Scorpio season, the veil is very thin. And so energy can also traverse across the spirit realm. The veil between the earth realm and the spirit realm becomes very thin during Scorpio season. So it's not a coincidence that Halloween is in Scorpio season. And so I've been working with energies that come in, especially when you open up your energy, and you don't ground and protect yourself. There can be energies, entities, things that come into your space uninvited, and you feel a little bit out of body again. So this, I don't know why I'm sharing this. Some of you might be feeling this, and it doesn't have to be a physical or an actual entity. It could also just be a cording energy. So if someone is obsessively thinking about you, whether it's negative, especially negative thoughts, if they are feeling any jealousy or envy, watching your socials with any kind of ugly feeling, just sending you bad vibes kind of thing, that energy cords to you. It can cord to you. So that's why, we use the evil eye symbol when posting. Sometimes it's just to ward off the evil. That's what's coming in Scorpio season as well, these different energies. So spiritual hygiene is very important, because it's not only the physical relationships that we have in the 3D, it's also the energetic relationships in the 5D. And Scorpio is water energy. So that's deep, 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 deep emotion. So if there's any kind of emotion that someone feels towards you that is negative, and they might not even be doing it consciously, it's not like someone sitting there with a voodoo doll of you poking pins into it. That's very rare, maybe 1% of the population. Well, I don't know, I actually don't know, so let me not guess. But it's as simple as feeling envious about someone, or like wishing them well, genuinely wishing them well, but feeling reserved about their success, or their relationship, or their looks, or whatever it is, and that energy then cords to you. So it's important to always be clearing your space, protecting your space, grounding your energy. So that was very specific for someone, but that's the boundaries that I was talking about. So it's important to have energetic boundaries, and actually have a mantra or a prayer that you say every day, that any non-consensual energy that enters my space must leave now. If it's after the fact, or to protect your energy, any non-consensual energy is not allowed in my space, in my home. You are banished from this space, which is why in the beginning of the readings you'll notice I always say all negative energy must leave the space now, because I don't want to be channeling no negative energy in my readings. And that can happen, that it can actually take over your thoughts, your feelings, and then you start moving, acting in a way that is not actually, you. So spiritual hygiene, very important. The tower energy, and it looks like I'm not even going to get to the minor arcana, but that's okay. Tower energy is anything that isn't stable in your life, that isn't built on a solid foundation, that is built on fakeness, that is built on you pretending to be someone that you are not, or hiding your true self, or in a relationship that is not serving you, in a career that is not serving you, anything in the 3D world that is not supported by a solid foundation is going to come crashing down at some point. And this could be status, this could be material wealth, any of those things. And that's the tower energy. This is Pluto energy, Mars energy, destruction energy as well. Scorpio is the destructor, like in Ghostbusters. I'm revealing my age now. So the tower comes in to break down anything that is built on a foundation that is unstable, as simple as that. And it gives us the opportunity to build again with different choices, with different energy, with realness, with alignment, with the right people in our space as well. So again, it's beautiful energy. And I realized yesterday that Scorpio energy used to terrify me when I started reading and immersing myself in the energies of the zodiac and in astrology. Scorpio energy used to scare me. But now I find it to be the most beautiful energy, the most sensual, transformative, deep energy. And if any of you have had the privilege of loving a Scorpio or being in relationship with a Scorpio, family, friend, close relationship, you will know that they love so deeply and that they are one of the most loyal signs in the zodiac. Once Scorpio commits, they commit fully. And once they are done, they are done. So that's another thing about Scorpio energy. And that's again what's happening in our, the rest of the zodiac is as we walk away. And this is Scorpio energy. Eight of Cups energy. Where is Eight of Cups energy? Walking away from things that don't serve us. Walking away from things that don't emotionally fulfill us to our emotional fulfillment. Once Scorpio is done, they are done. And usually with the fixed signs, that's what happens. We have a lot of patience, a lot of resilience. We, can give a lot until there comes a point where when it's done, it's done. And that's what's happening in this transformation as well. You will find that you will lose a lot of your people. You will lose a lot of people that were not in your space, I guess. Well, we have seasonal relationships that bring us in lessons, but there are some energies that are falling away now as we transform and as you transform, as you are growing spiritually. Energies that no longer align with what your purpose and calling is. They might have served you for a time and been in alignment with the previous version of yourself, but they no longer resonate at the same frequency, and so they literally fall away. It's a natural law. It's like a magnetism. The same frequencies will vibe together. Your vibe is your tribe, all of those things. That's what it means, is the frequency at which you are operating is going to attract the same frequency of people, of situations, of things, even food. You'll find that there's certain foods that you can no longer eat. Like meat is a big one, actually, for people that are shifting sometimes the energy of meat, especially depending on how that being was killed. That frequency no longer can resonates with your body, and you actually physically feel sick if you eat it. And that's how strong the vibe energy is, depending on what frequency you're resonating at. Alcohol as well. As you ascend and as you move into higher frequency vibes, you feel the difference in, when you drink alcohol and how it lowers your vibration and how it actually, dampens or anesthetizes your energy. So frequency is really important. And the tower comes in when the frequency is really not, for your highest good, or it's not aligning. And the foundation is incredibly unstable. And what you then find you step into, and, Scorpio is water energy, so it's cups energy, is these kinds of divine partnerships, that there's an equal give and take with, you encourage each other, you learn from each other, you teach each other, you bring value to each other. It's not like one is bringing value and the other is just draining it. There's a mutual growth and in the situation, and it's connections that are willing to grow and ascend with you and not fight the growth and the ascension. So these are the connections we are bringing in with this transformational energy, with the Tower, the Death card, and the Judgment card. I do feel sorry for the squirrel though in this deck. He's so cute. And usually animals build their homes properly, so unless it's a lazy squirrel. I digress. So the Tower energy is always like a lightning bolt of energy. And yesterday we had a thunderstorm, and what they said to me is that, even though fire and water are two different elements, two opposite elements, water conducts electricity. So as I was washing something and there was lightning, and I had this in my mind, and they said to me, you see, water conducts electricity, which is an element of fire. So the Scorpio energy is the water that conducts this transformation when there's this sudden, unexpected, shattering wake-up call. The Scorpio energy, the water energy, is then the conductor and the facilitator for how you alchemize that and how you rebirth it into existence in a new way for your growth and ascension. So I'm going to end it there because I've been talking for like 46 minutes already. I hope this helped and resonated for you and helped to explain some of the themes coming up for us in this year and in Scorpio season. That's interesting. Whenever I have an energy attached to me, and it's like the movie Practical Magic. I don't know if you've ever watched Practical Magic. When anyway, Nicole Kidman and the frog and the burping, I find that I feel like I want to burp like a frog when different energies come in. Sorry. TMI. But this is actually how it can manifest physically. So if you are looking for guidance on, if there's something that you're going through that you're unable to explain, please reach out to me. I'll leave my details in the description box. And that's with regards to anything. Nothing is off the table, and we'll see how we can help you. I want to also thank you all for subscribing and for commenting. I appreciate all of your likes and shares and subscribes so much. It really does help me feel inspired to continue to do this work, to continue to share. It gives me a sense of purpose for the channel. And I feel really honored to be your messenger if you choose to listen to my readings. It is an honor for me to do this work and to help in any small way that I can. I always love if I see in the comments that the reading resonated in some way for someone and helped them and brought them a sense of hope or faith or peace. And that is ultimately the vision for this channel, is to bring hope and bring faith and bring a sense of peace and joy to you again, even if it's in the smallest way. So thank you. I'm sending you so much love. I'm also going to publish the 3-part readings for Scorpio. So it's going to be all the zodiacs from Aries through to Pisces, but in relation to what's going on in Scorpio season, or what Scorpio energy is giving for you. So go check that out. Sending you so much love and light and blessings. We will ride this wave of Scorpio and enjoy it. You can also, Scorpio also brings indulgence and sensuality and intensity. We can also, immerse ourselves in that energy and play with it a little bit as well. So it's not all gloom and doom and heavy. It's beautiful energy. Sending you so much love. Until next time.